In this lecture, we'll create a new obstacle for our course combining both rigid body properties and a physics material. Let's start to create some prefab variants branching off of this base obstacle prefab. So as a reminder to do that, let's right-click this base obstacle, click Create, and go into Prefab Variant. Let's name this one Cart. Double-click that to open it up in its prefab mode and go into Assets, Imported Assets, GDTV Assets, Prefabs, and find the Cart model. I'm going to actually use this one first because I feel like it tends to be one of the more complicated obstacles that we could potentially choose from. After we set this one up properly, I think all of the others will be a bit easier. So let's drag this model underneath our model parent game object and delete the cube entirely. On our cart vehicle, let's actually just keep the mesh renderer but delete the mesh collider. We can just start by modifying this box collider that is already on our cart game object. So edit collider, let's just click this button here, and I'll just kind of get this roughly situated where we want it to be. Well, you can actually have numerous box colliders on one game object. So let's scroll down, just kind of collapse the rigid body for now. We can collapse this box collider altogether, and you can actually just add another box collider. So two different box collider components on the same game object. And we can actually, once again, just slide this to once again look like it's properly surrounding this handlebar. This way, just using two different box materials, we have actually some pretty nice collision properties using just two primitive box collider game objects instead of the one really messy mesh collider that probably wouldn't do the job quite right. Let's actually just look at this from the top. I'm going to open up my first box collider and just increase the size. I believe it's on my X a bit. Yeah, about there. Looks good for now. All right, I think I'm pretty satisfied with that. Let's head back into our game scene, open up my obstacle spawner, and instead of using this base obstacle, I'm just going to go into my prefabs and assign my cart. Let's actually just see what that looks like before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Okay, not bad. I think we're already off to a pretty good start. I just love the look of all of these obstacles just flinging down our scene. But I'm noticing a couple different things that we can immediately improve on. When our obstacle spawner is instantiating each individual cart, it's coming in with the same rotation each individual time. I think it would make a lot more sense if we just actually hop into our obstacle spawner, and right here on our instantiate line, instead of using quaternion.identity, we can actually just use random.rotation. This will actually return a quaternion that we can use, and it's just going to randomize the rotation on all three different axes. Instead of spawning just 5, let's actually just spawn these indefinitely. So I'm actually just going to delete this condition entirely and just hard code in true. Now we have to be a little bit careful with when and how we actually use this. This will just spawn this while loop indefinitely while our game is playing, but for our sake, that's actually kind of what we want to accomplish. So with that new condition, we don't need this obstacle spawned variable at all. So I'll just go ahead and delete it entirely and delete it from my while loop as well. Great, let's head back into Unity. Now, when we play the game, you should actually see that each individual cart is just instantiating in with a random rotation, and I think we're already getting a much better and clean effect. But perfect. Okay, I'm already starting to see some of the issues that I was intentionally trying to create. Some of these carts, especially if we weren't spawning in so many all at once, is kind of getting stuck on the ground. You can actually see every once in a while, if it's not colliding with other different game objects, it's kind of just getting stuck on the ground and not rolling properly. I'm going to change some properties on my obstacle spawner and my transform.height to kind of intentionally give us some physics-based issues that will create some pain points for us that we can solve. Let's change our obstacle spawn time to something like 3, as well as our position to say something like 1 to kind of not give it so much of a bounce off of the surface. Let's go ahead and hit play. I might actually have to wait through, I don't even know, maybe 5 or 10 different cycles before I actually get the issue that I'm looking for, and then we can actually solve it. So let's just go ahead and see how long it takes before one of these carts gets more or less stuck on the ground. Okay, there we go. I actually finally got the issue. It took a while. You can actually see that these carts here, and if there wasn't another cart spawning in, every once in a while the cart is kind of just getting like stuck on the level. Well, we can use a combination of modifying a few of our different rigid body properties as well as a physics material and changing some of the properties there as well to either completely eliminate this ever happening, like this cart is stuck over here on the edge, or at least reduce the frequency almost to 0, so that way when we have other objects in our scene and other obstacles, it won't ever be an issue. Let's start off by clicking our cart and scrolling down to our rigid body component. Just like the real world, the amount of mass a game object has is not going to affect how quickly it falls. Drag is going to be a damping factor that affects how this body resists linear motion. The angular drag is going to be the exact same thing, but for angular motion, things like rotation. And we can modify these different properties to kind of get the effect that we're looking for. At the moment, we don't have any other prefab obstacles in our game, but we can start to modify each individual objects to have different mass, just kind of depending on what you think their relative mass would be to each other. So let's just say our base obstacle has a mass of 1. It's just kind of like a normal box. Let's say our mass of our cart is 5 times higher, so 5. Let's change the drag to say something like 100 just for now, just to kind of see what that does. I believe we should basically see the cart not really moving at all. Cool. So super resistant to linear motion. It's not really wanting to come down the path at all. Let's change our drag to say something like 0, but our angular drag to say something like 100. Okay, and after even just letting it play for a while, you can see all of our carts have a huge issue with any sort of rotation, causing all of them to also get stuck as well. Cool, so let's actually just change that to something like 0.2 and something like 0.6. When it comes to messing around with a lot of these different properties for both mass, drag, angular drag, and even physics materials, a lot of it can be just tinkering around with the different settings until you're getting the effect you're looking for. So these properties we changed here are pretty subtle. We're not actually seeing too much of a big difference, but I do think those subtle changes do help. Now, if you scroll up or down onto your box colliders, you can see that you also have a field for a physics material. Well, let's go ahead and create some of those. Let's hop into our assets folder. Create a new folder called physics material, or physics materials, plural with an S. Right click, create, and then somewhere in here we should find a physics material. Right here at the bottom, the fourth from the bottom. Let's create a physics material, and we'll just call this cart because we're going to apply it to our cart. And if other objects in our scene need different physics materials, then we can go ahead and name them appropriately. I'll leave a link in the resources to the documentation for a physics material if you'd like to do a little bit of a deeper dive on what each individual property means. But for now, let's just kind of quickly breeze over it. Dynamic friction is going to be how it interacts with other objects based on if they're moving or grinding against one another. Static friction is going to define how much friction the collider surface has against other colliders when the colliders aren't moving. So 0 is going to be something like slippery ice, and 1 would be something that has a lot of static friction, say something like rubber, for example. And bounciness is going to be a float value in between 0 to 1, depending on how much additional bounciness you kind of want to give to your rigid body using the Unity physics engine. And these two properties below here are going to be how these two friction or bounce properties combine when they interact with other physics materials that also have these properties inside of it. For example, we can change the value on our bounciness to something like 0.4, and then change the bounce combine to maximum, just so that way when it bounces off something like, say, our level or other physics properties that also have a bounciness factor, it will just always use the bounce property of whatever has the highest bounce value. We can actually change the static friction to say something like 0, just to make sure our objects are never actually getting stuck on the individual level. It'll just make sure they're always coming towards us based off of our physics engine gravity value. And let's just change the dynamic friction to say something like 0.3 for now. I'll be honest, a lot of these values just took me some tinkering around in my prototype to get the effect that I was looking for in my game view. And I'd recommend you do the same, just sliding back and forth their properties, just experimenting with what each one does in the engine. With this physics material created, let's go on to our cart prefab. So prefab, cart, we can open that up. And inside both box collider material properties, we can just assign this cart material. So both box colliders, cart material. Let's go ahead and hit play and see if we can notice any differences. Yeah, not bad. Relatively subtle, but I can see that still once in a while we're actually just getting our carts just barely stuck on our level. And I've got one more trick up my sleeve to kind of make sure that doesn't really ever happen. We have two box colliders, but I think it would actually help if we just slapped on another capsule collider on top of this box collider, just with a little bit of overlap to kind of help our cart continually roll down our hill. So add component, capsule collider. And I'm just going to modify this to have a little bit of overlap with my one box collider. So something like a radius of, let's say, something around there. So probably just around 1. A little bit of overlap on top, probably not too much. A little bit of overlap on the bottom, and then definitely a little bit of overlap both here on my Z value. So you can just kind of see my capsule is just overlapping a little bit here outside of my box. Probably overlapping a little bit more on this side than on this side, so I can actually probably just swing that over just a little bit on my X side a little bit, just shifting it ever so slightly over. Maybe increase my radius just a teeny tad. Something about there probably looks about right for me. Okay, I think I'm satisfied. Let's try that out one more time playing my game, just to kind of make sure my cart never really gets stuck while it's rolling down the hill. Now, if it ever still does happen, just continue playing around and tinkering with some of your values. However, even if it does happen once in a blue moon, that's probably okay. After we get some other obstacles like fences or other obstacles in our scene, things like some lamp posts on the side of our level, those sorts of obstacles will help push the cart down the level, and we really shouldn't have an issue moving forward. Great, now that you actually have this cart created and combining both rigid body properties as well as a physics material, this is probably the trickiest one to get working correctly. It's got the most complex shape. So now that we've done this one, I think tackling the others will be much easier. Let's create some other prefab variants inside of the next lecture, as well as get them randomizing which one instantiates in our game view. We'll tackle that in the next lecture. When you're ready to move on, I'll see you there.